Hi, and welcome to What's Next with Emma Arnold. I'm Emma Arnold. We're going to try something a little different starting today on the podcast. I apparently, according to Alex, and I'm sure he knows better than me, he says I always forget to intro the podcast. And I think that's not just true of What's Next. I think that's probably also true of Couple Skate. I think we've the last 4 times forgotten to intro Couple Skate as well. It's just, I'm a jump inner, and I always forget to tell you guys at the beginning what you're listening to and who you're about to hear. So I'm going to start doing a little separate thing in the beginning so that you can hear where you're at and who we're going to talk to. I'll tell you a little bit about the guests, my relationship with them, and talk about a little bit about what's going on in my life. So I think that'll be fun. I think it'll be nice. For a long time, people have told me, hey, you should have a little podcast, like where you just rant about things and you talk about what's in your life. And I kind of use that with the paint and chats right now, but often I'm kind of distracted with painting. So I hope this is fun. I hope we enjoy it. I think it'll be a nice little place where we can talk. I can talk about things that are going on currently. Right now, what's on my mind, I was supposed to get some headshots done on Saturday, some proper, not just headshots, but like promo shots. It's big, weird, part of my job, part of comedy and these other things I do is these pictures you're supposed to have out there. I don't know why I bother, honestly, because I have a million very nice professionally done promo shots where I have professional hair and makeup and I look glamorous and gorgeous, and bookers always end up using this picture taken of me, I think in 2012, that was taken like literally minutes after my divorce, and it was for a friend's art installation where he was taking very raw and emotional photos of people, where he asked you a very raw emotional question, and as you answered, he took your picture. I had been crying in the car for about an hour beforehand. I got there early. That's the curse. I didn't never carry Madame Veroni up the mountain. I'm not sure if that's who that is from Holes, but I didn't carry up the mountain. My curse is I'm 15 minutes. Me and all my descendants will be 15 minutes early to every function we ever go to. Actually, it's more like a half hour. So I was like a half hour early, sat out in the car crying really hard, went in, took this very raw, naked, emotional photo that was a part of in our beautiful black and white art installation. And for whatever reason, bookers always pull that picture from my Instagram and use that, the picture in which I look like I've just been crushed by 1,000 elephants, but emotionally. They love it. They love that. I think there's something about that picture that says, this lady's been through some shit and she's going to make you bookers love that picture. I have all these beautiful professional photos. I was going to take some new ones because some of them are a bit older. And I just felt like I should have some updated ones. Also, I'm working on a new project, so I needed a new little photo for the back of that. And I was planning Saturday to do the whole thing, get my picture taken, do the hair, professional makeup, do the whole thing. And today I started stressing out about it a whole lot because I was like, I haven't gone clothes shopping in a year. I have, not the only thing I've worn in a year is flannels that I've stolen from my own sons. Which, is it stealing if you bought that flannel, loaned it to them for a while and then took it back? I don't think so. Those are my flannels technically. Flannels from them. Overalls. My mom loves to buy me thrift store overalls. I have about 5 pair, maybe more, of thrift store overalls, an assortment that I like to paint in. I have a bee suit, several bee suits actually of different kinds. I have a full bee suit. I have a half bee suit. I have just the veil. I have several veils. I have a SpongeBob towel that I like to, a lot of times, this is the kind of year it's been, a lot of times it takes me 4 or 5 days to work up the energy to shower, to like waddle out of my depression long enough to want to take a shower, to force myself to do a little self-care. And then when I finally get out of the shower, I just lay in that towel for, it could be another 4 days that I'm just wrapped in that SpongeBob towel, just hoping for the best. So I wear that a lot. And, I got a couple robes. I got a lot of robes. So I don't really have anything. I don't have any cute new spring of 2021 outfits. Like I don't have anything. I have a bunch of ratty hoodies and depression sweats. That's what I've got going on. And like a lot of people, like I'm working from home. So it's not like I haven't had to go anywhere. I've put on makeup a few times. I've thrown on some mascara here and there, trying to feel better, trying to be like, all right, pull it together, Arnold. But I haven't worn like full makeup in probably about a year. Like show makeup or glamour makeup or whatever you want to call it. I haven't done that. I mean, why would I? For Chip? What? I'm just gonna get like all dolled up and throw it all on for Chip? No, I haven't done that. I haven't done that in a long time. So I started thinking about Saturday, and usually what happens is when you do headshots, you bring a couple different looks. You have a couple different locations in mind. And I had none of that. I had no locations in mind. I had no looks in mind. I kind of was looking through my clothes and I was like, all of this just looks like shit. And I have nothing cute. And I don't really want to I don't know. I feel like, I was always a very thrifty person, and I was really raised outside of a lot of consumerism and haven't participated in a lot of it. Like I get a lot of my clothes already from thrift stores. I do buy things new occasionally, but I've never been like I like fashion and I like clothes a lot, but I've never been willing to spend a lot of money on it. But I feel like even more so now, like watching the last year, watching how little capitalism gives a shit about our lives and our well-being, and watching 500,000 people die of COVID and a whole bunch of people get evicted and 500,000 people homeless right now. I just kind of am having a hard time wanting to participate in any kind of money spending. And so even the idea right now of like going and getting new clothes at the mall, even aside from, going and exposing myself to the open mouth breathing mask burners who are currently shopping at the mall, those kind of maniacs, I don't feel like participating in it. Like I just don't really want to go spend money. I just feel, I don't know, even more frugal than usual, we'll say. So even that, I was thinking, I'm like, I don't have anything to wear. I don't have anything. I don't want to go spend a bunch of money on clothes. And I was like, I don't even really want to have my picture taken, which usually headshots are fun. It's kind of fun to go, like the last time I got headshots done, we almost got arrested. It was fantastic. My friend Nance came with me and this photographer. We went and trespassed onto this. There's a mansion in Boise up in the foothills that they built it in a bad spot and the ground shifted. And so the whole mansion like cracked in half and part of it sank and part of it didn't. And then they just abandoned it. So we went and trespassed in there and took some very fun shots, some really beautiful shots. And the whole time, Nance, who's the best, she's so funny. She was just making me laugh super hard. And she was calling me names and she was fluffing me. She was fluffing me, photo shoot fluffing me, getting me to make the right faces and do natural smiles and natural laughs. And I got really great headshots out of that. Very fun. And, but this time I don't know. And like other times I've had a really good time. Like, it's a way to kind of like, you gotta get dolled up. You feel pretty afterwards. You see pretty pictures of yourself and you're like, what a babe. And I just felt like this time I just didn't feel any of that. So today I was stressing about it and I was thinking about just like canceling all of it and was just like, I just don't need I just won't get new photo headshots right now. I just won't get new photo sets. It's fine. People can live with my other ones. Nobody really needs them anyway, and then I went for a walk down by the Boise River, and I was out for a walk in the woods, and there's a beautiful tree. My favorite tree in Boise at Veterans Park is this giant grandmother tree. It's huge, and most of it is laying on the ground, and I always stop and do a little meditation at that tree. And I just set my phone up, and I just was like, fuck it, no makeup. Hadn't even combed my hair today. Had put a little dry shampoo in there. I hadn't combed it or anything, and I was just kind of out in my usual getup, which is black jeans and a black tank top. That's my uniform I've been wearing since probably about, I don't know, 1992. But I just kind of sat my camera down and took some pictures and was like, there, fucking photo set. So I don't know. I've already decided I might go take some pictures Saturday, but I think I don't know. There's just something about this year. I felt like even if I do go do the photos on Saturday, I'm not going to do my hair and makeup. I'm not going to do the thing, because something I've always admired about male comedians is like, and I suppose male actors or just men in general, is like, you men get to just like roll out of bed and like, for you, you know, getting glammed up is like putting on deodorant, you know, getting glammed up is maybe you exfoliate. That's a huge maybe. There's very few men who exfoliate. And I just, this last year has shown me a freedom, of like not having to spend all this time on, personal grooming. And I don't know. I think that might be my new thing, is I'm just going to be au natural for my new headshots. So we'll see. We'll probably take them and I'll be like, yeah, I'm just going to throw on a little mascara and just real quick, you know, curl my hair a little and just, you know what, I'm going to throw some concealer on. I think that's how I want to be that confident, and we'll see if we get there. So I do have some new headshots. That was fun. It was just a beautiful day, so sunny. And it just felt so nice out there. Yesterday I've been, for the last couple of weeks, one of my kids' friends, doesn't have a ton of family support, and he needed some help working on a car. So he parked it over here. We've been helping him work on it. It's been a good little project for him and the big boys. And they've been puttering around, you know, replacing parts and doing stuff. And it's a manual. It's a stick shift. And he didn't know how to drive a stick shift. My kids had not yet learned how to drive a stick shift. And so I've been given lessons. I've been doing stick shift lessons around here, which has been very fun. And I feel like I should do that for a living. I'm so patient, man. That's there's a movie with Steve Carell. I think it's called Noah. It's not a great movie, but there's a line from it I love that Morgan Freeman says, he says, if you pray for patience, God doesn't give you patience, and blah, 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 paraphrasing, he gives you something to be patient about. He puts a difficult person in your life, whatever. I think if you pray for patience, God gives you 3 teenagers to teach a stick shift to, because man, that requires a whole lot of, okay, all right, no, that's fine. You're gonna stall. That's part of it. It definitely takes a lot of sort of like letting them, you know, learning to drive a stick shift is all about body memory. It's all about muscle memory. You kind of just have to let them fail a bunch of times. So we've been doing that, and it got me thinking, and I've been sort of noodling this since last night. Sorry, that was me drinking my tea. I've been noodling since last night about how there's been a lot of talk, especially around comedy, but, you know, with the Woody Allen documentary coming out, which, by the way, I mean, I've always been Team Dylan Farrow, obviously, as a sexual abuse survivor myself. And just as a kind of wild aside, the first time I ever publicly came out about my own sexual abuse was when Dylan Farrow first wrote her letter. I think it was to the New York Times, that they printed about what she had faced. And I put it up on Facebook and was just like, as a sexual abuse survivor myself, who lived with the secret for a lot of years, I stand with Dylan Farrow, and I know how hard it is to come out with this. And it was kind of just my way of like, you know, soft serve, like kind of throwing it out there. Like, I haven't really talked about this. Like, I hadn't really told anybody in my family much about it. And it was kind of like my soft way of being like, oh yeah, like without saying who did it or when it happened or whatever. And unfortunately, some of my relatives in the comments just jumped all over me about you know, ruining Woody Allen's career with false accusations, and, you know, about how you couldn't possibly know the whole story, and that, you know, Dylan Farrow was bought. And I was so floored, because I was like, whoa, you guys, the takeaway here is not my opinion on Dylan Farrow. The takeaway here is like my first little like foray into talking to you about this. Anyway, which was just sort of wild, and is one of those things that unfortunately when people start telling their met like Dylan Farrow with a lot of resistance, and there were a lot of people at first who did not still. But that's, the Woody Allen documentary came out. And then also within my own community, within comedy, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out lately. Chris D'Elia, Brian Callen, Jeff Ross, all these men who had relationships with teenagers, with very young women. Jeff Ross is accused by a 15-year-old who has receipts. She has pictures and texts and emails from him. All the D'Elia has, just dozens of women accusing him of, young women accusing him of sleeping with them when they were underage or asking for pictures, etc. And, and that's not for comedians news. Like I could name, if I wanted to fight with everybody for the next, I could name another 5 male comedians right now who I know dated women under 18, who I saw with women, who were very young and vulnerable. Probably some of your favorites, unfortunately. But it got me thinking yesterday, because I have been hanging out with, the boys and their best friend. And yesterday I took their best friend. The boys were gone, and he and I just went and drove a little bit. And he was talking to me, and he's a really sweet kid. And we were talking about, he was very nervous about driving stick. And we were talking about things and talking about like school and his girlfriend and his mom and, just like a lot of things. And later when he left, I was realizing that, I just don't, if you are attracted to people under 18, you're a pedophile. That is my opinion. You are a pedophile, because I am surrounded constantly by teenagers, and I can tell you for a fact they are children. They are still children. If you're 25 and you're attracted to somebody, that's different. If you're over 30, if you're 40, if you're 50 years old, you're attracted to a 15-year-old, it's because you're a pedophile. The only way you could be attracted to a teenager is if you're a sexual predator, is if there's something about that innocence that attracts you, something about them, looking up, because I'm around a lot of teenagers, and, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but several of them look up to me and ask for my advice and have asked for my help. And, I try to provide that in mentorship in ways that I can. And, it makes me think of when I was a young woman, when I was at that age, how often instead of platonic mentorship and guidance, I received sexual advances or more. I had a 40-year-old boyfriend when I was 18, and I look upon that relationship, I look back on that. No, he was an accountant. I didn't know shit. He drove a blue Mustang. I'm humiliated. It was a bad time. And I just feel like, for a long time, it's just been sort of this narrative, like men are attracted to younger women. And when women my age, I'm 40, protest against that, it's like racked up to jealousy or something. But the reality is I was a young woman who was preyed on by older men who should have been my mentors, who should have been people who were willing to see me as a child and guide me through life. Because, like they say, it really does take a village to raise children into adults. And like, it makes me so angry and disgusted that the times in my life where like with, a coworker or a friend's dad, I can think of 100 different examples of times where men who are a great deal older than me could have offered me life experience, life advice, and instead just tried to fuck me. I was a nanny for some people when I was 17, and the dad was constantly trying to fuck me, constantly. It was such a fucking creep. And I quit. One day I just didn't go in because he had made me so uncomfortable the day before. I'd gotten a flat tire and he drove me to the tire store. And the whole time he talked to me about sex and about what kind of sex he liked to have and what kind of sex I like to have, and like just being so gross with me. And I didn't know what to do. And I was so uncomfortable. I just didn't really say much. And then he drove me home, and the next day I didn't go in, and his wife called and she was so angry, and she was like, this is so irresponsible. This puts us in such a bind. And of course I didn't say to her, yeah, your creepy fucking husband tried to have sex with me a bunch of times yesterday and made me feel unsafe. Like I wasn't sure if he was going to drive me home or hurt me. And it was a terrible situation. And that I feel so upset and angry that like young men a lot of times are offered mentorship and guidance, and because women are less likely to be sexual abusers, but also because we don't sexualize young men in the same way. We don't as a society go like, ooh, that boy's 17 and ripe for the picking. Like, no, we call them kids. We say they're not responsible for their actions. And it just, after having been hanging out with teenage boys, and teenage girls too, like, they bring their girlfriends around, and my kids have brought girls around, and those are children. You need to leave them alone. They're children. And like, what a gift you can give a young person. Even if let's say a young person is sexually attracted to you and they're flirting with you, the gift of not fucking them is a lifetime gift. I promise you. The gift of your restraint, even if they're trying to fuck you, the gift of seeing them platonically and treating them like the young, innocent person that they are, is a gift that like will keep on giving. I can count on one hand the number of men in my life when I was young who did not sexualize me. And those men still mean a lot to me. Those men still, I look back on very fondly, like, oh wow, that was like one of the few men who didn't make me feel like an object or a thing. So I don't know. I just feel like it's so wild to me seeing people recently like defend Aaliyah. You see, I mean, which of all the people, I mean, God, I would get if it was somebody who's really, really funny got taken down, if it was somebody like Steve Martin, it was just, that like really broke your heart about a sexual accusation. But like Chris D'Elia, you're going to go out swinging for Chris D'Elia? Just seems heartbreaking to me. So I just feel like that's been so normalized, it's been so normalized, and everybody's kind of like, what he likes, I will never, ever forget or forgive Ari Shaffir for saying after Beyonce had kids that of course Jay-Z cheated on her because once a woman had children, she lost all sexual value and sexual worth. And he was like, doubled down on it, was like, men like young women. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. Men like teenagers. Like, there's a whole subset of male comedians who have normalized that with each other and act like it's okay, but they are pedophiles. And I'm not going to use a different word for it. I'm not going to use a phobophilia or whatever the creepy Reddit pedophiles try to get you to say. I'm not going to say it. Those men are pedophiles. Woody Allen is a pedophile. Chris D'Elia is a pedophile. Jeff Ross is a pedophile, allegedly. So I don't get sued here, but they're pedophiles. So there's that. Shifting gears about something I'm also passionate about. This is a complete gear shift, but we recently, this is something else I feel kind of fired up about too, though. We recently, if you know me, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I've always, especially, I was a huge Next Generation fan as a kid. That's what I grew up watching. I love the original show. I love a lot of the shows. I love Discovery. I love a ton. You know what? I love all Star Trek, but I'm particular to TNG because it was what I grew up with. Voyager is, I watched that in my 20s too. I really love that too. But, and Deep Space Nine, but really, for me, like Picard, Riker, Troy, Data, that's where it was always at for me. And I have rewatched TNG 100 times. It's like kind of the show I put on in the background whenever I'm like writing or doing something. It's just a kind of a comfort to me, and it always has been. So I've been recently watching Discovery, which I have to say first, like was so excited for Picard, so excited. Didn't end up finishing it. I just felt like it didn't feel like Star Trek to me. Like there's all that torture in it. It just has this vibe to me of like trying to appeal to non-Star Trek fans, like trying to appeal. I know that was a criticism of some of the newer movies, which I still enjoyed, but I understood people's point about them. But I also felt like they were able to like bring it back a lot of times to like original Star Trek values. So I wasn't crazy about Picard. I still probably will finish it, but I kind of had to step back because I was so disappointed. But I'm loving Discovery and it's so good. And, I just started I'm about halfway through the new season. And, it's funny because, I had read that a bunch of conservative people said they were going to boycott the show and that they were really pissed off because one of the characters is non-binary. And she starts as she, and then partway through, she says to one of the other characters, hey, it's they, them. And then after that, begins to identify as they, them, and says, I never felt like a she, I never felt like a girl. Even before I became Trill, which, if you watch Star Trek, that means you have a bunch of other souls inside of you. Even before I became a Trill symbiont, I still felt like, a they, them. I never felt like a girl. And I think it's so funny that people who are mad about that, who are like, I'm boycotting Star Trek. First of all, they're like, I can't imagine a world where gender is fluid, but I'm fine with the idea that this person has an alien symbiont inside of them, which also holds the souls of like 5 other Trill people. The Trill is like a species that has like a symbiont. Anyway, so like that's fine. Your head can wrap around a symbiont alien species, but that lives inside another being and retains the memory of every host it's ever had. You're fine with that, but gender isn't fluid. It's only boys and girls. You can't do they, them. You can't do and that's one thing I feel like I wish Star Trek would always try to remember about itself is Star Trek is not for conservatives. Star Trek is not for them. It was always a progressive show from the original show that, had a black woman and an Asian man and was, fairly gender bendy often itself. I mean, it wasn't a perfect show, but it definitely strove for equality and showing like feminist ideals and showing racial equality. I feel like the show has always meant to push boundaries and to show progress. And that's one thing I love about Discovery is, they're all about that. There's a loving gay couple. There's, a non-binary character. There's, I love that most of the badass main characters are women, and then the men are there too. They're very supportive. They're also just very supportive. They're great. So I just think that that's funny, but I think it's a good thing to remember about Star Trek is it's supposed to piss conservatives off. That's the point of it. Conservatives should never be if your Trek has gone fully astray if Rush Limbaugh likes it, which he's dead. So there you go. Good news for all of us. All right, I'm going to intro our guest. This is okay, right? We talked for 20 minutes or so, 30 minutes. I'm going to try it. We're going to do this for a while, and feel free to give me your feedback. I may incorporate it. You know me, I may not. But I'm very excited about your guest for today. She is so fantastic, so funny. She has opened for me the last 2 albums I've recorded. She opened for me and warmed the crowd up, and not well, actually. The 2 before that, I should say, not well, because I recorded that at the Comedy Addict in some state, Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana. So part of the reason I've always felt like my albums are as funny as they are is because Janae is so funny, and I used to bring her as an opener quite a bit, because I would always say that the crowd, after she would get off stage, the crowd was butter. They were just spreadable, you know, like they were just loose and happy. She's so fun. She leaves everybody just like wanting more comedy. I would watch every set of hers always because she would just make me laugh so hard. She brings a sense of joy to a room that just, even when we're hanging out, I always feel she's just such a fun person, such a sweet soul. So I think you're really going to enjoy the podcast. She makes me laugh. I think honestly, this podcast, I've laughed more on this one than I have on any other podcast. She is just so fucking funny and such a doll, and I love her so much. Please look her up and find her everywhere. She's super great. You're going to love it. You guys enjoy Janae Burris. How's that been? So you moved in with your grandma. So you, like, right before the pandemic, you were like, I'm moving to LA and gonna go get the dream. And then you literally like moved out like a month before, right? Like in February?
Well, I had planned on it. February, I made a decision, but I was chilling in Denver. I was having a good time, just chilling in Denver. And then the pandemic happened and I was like, oh, hold on. I'm going to wait just a second to get my bearings because pretty much I was chilling hard. Then, you know, got a grant and like some unemployment. I was like in my swimsuit in the hammock, just chilling in Denver. And, but my cousin was like, yo, can you come pitch in a little bit? And I was like, okay, I was planning on it anyway. Let me get out there and see if, you know, help my sister. My sister she was still breastfeeding and she has another kid who's in elementary. She's like, please, I'm a stay-at-home mom now and, you know, or work from home mom. So I was like, okay, I can come pitch in. And then I got out here and, my grandmother got a diagnosis, a heavier diagnosis right after I got here. And it was like, oh, for real, you gotta like, you can't just come and sneak weed. Like you for real have to pitch in. I was like, oh. Yeah. So she might be upstairs. She might be on the phone having church. So that's another reason I go to the garage. It's like, oh, you can kind of hear prayer in the background. So,
I mean, that would be appropriate, I guess, for this podcast. But, and like right after you moved in over there, didn't her house get hit by a car, like your bedroom?
They didn't hit the house. Luckily, they just drove up onto the yard. It's just people go really fast on this street, really, really like they race kind of. And there's a lot of cars parked. So just somebody driving too fast. And moving in, like it was very quiet in my Denver neighborhood and pretty chill. And now I hear people driving constantly. So I have panic constantly. And then they drove up and I was like, I knew it. I knew I was going to move back and get murdered. I knew it. I knew that. I've always known I was going to get murdered in this neighborhood. I just thought it would be bullets and not a car, but
a car driving through the window.
Yeah, but we did get a new stop sign. Thanks to my friend. I used to wait tables with a woman who went to school for like city planning, and she moved away to Boston and saw that I posted that and connected me with some people.
Oh wow!
And actually got another stop sign. Which already there's been a couple accidents at that stop sign. Sorry, everybody.
The Janae Burris stop sign. There, I just introed you. I was going to intro you later, but welcome to the show, City Planner and Stop Sign Enthusiast, Janae Burris. Oh, man. So how has that been? Like, I guess, you know, on the one hand, you're not alone. You know, you're with your family, which is nice, but also you're not alone, which can be a lot.
Right? Ooh, yeah, I feel more plugged in now and almost too much. I'm like, I'm deeply into the family again, and it makes it hard to work. Like right now, there's not a lot of work. That's why I was like, okay, if not now, then never. And I want to pitch in with the family, but it's hard to pull away at all. Like, it's either I am Janae, comedian person, woman, or I am Nene, sister, helper, pitching in. And, you know, it's just, there's no in between, it feels like. So,
yeah. Yeah. Especially because you're helping take care of your sister's kids and they're little, like you said, they're littler, and with littles running around, it is so hard to get anything done. Yeah. It's so hard to kind of like unplug yourself from, because they're just like, I'm sure there's like, nay, 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 and they just want you all the time.
Calls me auntie right now, auntie,
Aww.
and she wants to be carried still, and she's pretty adorable. So it's like, yeah, let's go. Do you want to get in the stroller? Let's go ride a bike. It's hard for me to pull away. And my nephew, is doing school in his bedroom, but he calls me sometimes randomly. Are you coming over? I thought you said you were coming for lunch. And I was like, I'm busy. But yeah, it's hard to tell them no. I sometimes, and I'm like, I got to hustle back to grandma, got to, help grandma with some meds or run to the grocery store real quick for her. So,
Are you doing Zoom shows? Have you been doing any comedy?
I've been doing Zoom shows.
I saw you post a couple things. Yeah. So,
I've been doing Zoom shows, which I feel like I feel comfortable with them. When everybody's complaining about good Zoom shows, I was like, I think I'm doing a good job. I don't love it, but it's some part of the outside world for me. So
I wasn't planning on doing any. And then I saw you post a picture of yourself doing one and you were standing. And for some reason that had not occurred to me that you could stand.
That was my first time standing. That was my first time standing.
I was like, oh, if we're standing, I'll do it. If we're standing, I'll sure. Yeah. And then after that, someone asked me to do it. And I was like, oh, sure. Yeah. Now that I know we can stand, I don't know how people are doing it sitting down. It just like, for me, muscle memory. I cannot do jokes sitting down. It feels...
Or even holding a mic. I don't plug the mic in. I just hold it.
Yeah.
Because I think I look like I'm the entertainment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So. I haven't done very many of them. But when I did them, I was like, I held the mic and I stood up and I was just like this. I've never been a stool sitter either. Just like in a regular stand-up set, I'm not sitting on the stool. Like for me, I'm I'm around the stage. I gotta stay limber. I'm moving around, and I don't usually put the mic in the stand unless I have I do have a couple jokes where I have to use both hands for something. But like for the most part, yeah. So after I saw you do that, I was like, all right, if Janae's doing it, I'll do them. I'll do them if you're doing them.
They're not that bad. I feel like it's a lot about trying to engage with the audience. I do a lot of this. My face is always too close. I don't know what you guys doing. Who wrote something? And I've had people, Steve and AJ put in the comments one time, can you scoop back from the, I was like, what? Help me, everybody. It just was like engaging more with the audience, which I know you're great at. So it's like, it's going to be easy for you. You just have to say yes to the gig. So
you'll be like, you're developing your face work, you're going to be a real face comedian now.
I feel like, I don't know, like Pee Wee Herman or like some goofball, just like it's, but that's part of it now, cause I used to tell a lot of jokes where I wiggled my butt and now nobody can see my butt. So wiggling my face and putting my teeth into the screen. Face.
Yeah. I feel like I've gotten real good at eye work because of wearing a mask. So I feel like I can convey so much with just like a widening, or like a squint, I'm doing a lot of eye work these days.
I'm trying to smile at kids through the mask. Like kids are really looking like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like I feel like kids are like, are you cool? Or they can't read our faces. I'm trying desperately to communicate that I'm nice, but I don't know if it's weird for them. My niece is always pulling at the mask.
Yeah, always. I've thought about babies because, they've done studies where like with monkeys where they won't, they'll have a caregiver never make an expression. And like it traumatizes monkeys. And so I'm like, of course, like there's a whole bunch of infants right now who are growing up only ever seeing like people's eyes. And I just imagine that's got to be, we're going to end up finding out that was very formative and everybody's going to be a sociopath. In 21 years, we'll figure it out like, oh no, it was not being able to see people's mouths for 2 years.
It's going to be weird. It's going to be some weird people coming up. But I guess every generation, we're all weird, strange in some way. So
yeah,
that'll be their thing.
Yeah, that'll be the masks and Trump. My kids, I think about how that's their high school president. Like who was your high school president? You're younger than me, so who was that? Was that Bush? No.
I'm like, I'm going to pretend not to remember, but it was probably Clinton.
Yeah, mine was Clinton.
Or Bush was in college. Maybe second Bush was in college. So first Bush was high school.
And That's formative. Like I thought that was formative, but having Trump be sort of your like introduction to politics as a young person seems.
Yeah, or just the ability to constantly hear from him and about him. I don't feel like I was bombarded with Bush information. Like I knew Republicans and Democrats. I thought it was poor people, rich people, white people, colored folk, people of color. That's the difference that I thought. It was socioeconomic differences between the parties, not necessarily the ideals, because I was very Christian, very deeply religious at the time. But I was poor, so I assumed I was on Democrat side.
Yeah.
But ideals are completely different now, I see. I didn't realize that.
When did you stop being religious?
Don't tell anybody. Don't wait. Don't tell my grandma.
Does she still not know? Does she not?
No, nobody knows the hard truth and the hard reality of what it is. I haven't definitively made that statement. I just used to really, like, as a teenager, like for real, go hard for Jesus. And Denver made a swing at the religious thing. Once you pull yourself away from going every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday, just start going less, start getting on the internet more. I used to question as a teenager a lot, and questions were not allowed. I would go faithfully, but I had questions. And that's the part I struggled with. It's like, I'm willing to believe this as long as I can ask questions. And they're like, it's just what's in the book.
Were you raised Baptist? Is that what your grandma was?
Pentecostal.
Oh, Pentecostal. I forgot. That's right. We talked about that. I forgot you were raised Pentecostal. Pentecostal is hardcore. It's hardcore stuff right there.
Yeah, that's the hardcore stuff. It's a lot of it. I mean, I was kind of into rules following. So, but I didn't like. There was like essence of sexism that I was like picking up on as a young person. Just like, what's all this with we got to wear skirts and whatnot, and our skirts got to be a certain length, and we are not allowed in the pulpit, and it just felt submissive, and it didn't sit well with me. It was very like, when I watched 30 Rock, I was very like Liz Lemon type of girl, just like, why can't girls? Girls can do it. Girls can do it. And church was like, actually, no, girls cannot do it. Girls can do this thing and that thing, and in the kitchen and serve. That's your job, is to serve. But so that bothered me with religion, and then the internet, blows your mind wide open.
Are you sort of a singular in that, as a, like, in your family, or are the women in your family submissive and kind of follow that along the church, and you're different, or?
It's weird. It's like, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel like anybody's being submissive. I'm in a total matriarchy. There's like, blood relatives are mostly women. But I felt like when I was a elementary school, high school age, that it was very much like, be a good wife, learn how to be a good wife. Still didn't associate that with being submissive, but it was like, you do serve. It is your duty and your honor to serve in the military under your husband. Like, you plan on serving and being a good wife and a good mother. I feel like I was trained to do that, and I just never landed the husband or the children.
Yeah.
But if there's someone ready for their second wife, their next wife, in between wife,
you want to be a second wife? You would for sure want to be a second wife?
Yeah. I'd be great with those teenage kids.
You would. You would be a great second wife. I feel like you'd be an awesome stepmom. You'd be very fun and chill.
I'd be so chill.
Yeah. That's a great gig.
Open-minded. Yeah, open-minded. And I have a lot of debt that I would love to be taken over by some man. Please. I'm looking forward to it.
That's the dream. I was second wife for a little bit, and then after we broke up, now I'm doing younger men. That's what I got myself Alex.
The Renaissance, yes.
Now it's like, I feel like that's like you're like a submissive wife, then you're a second wife, then you're a cougar. Like, that's the circle of life right there.
Yeah. I like all of that.
And then you just go to church a bunch. Then your husband dies before you, even though you dated younger. Then you just go to church a bunch. That's my plan.
Then church, back to church. I know my mom's at back to church now.
Is she?
Like, come on, Mom, party. She's at back to church now, but my stepdad is older than her.
Oh.
So, yeah. So they're both in sort of the back to church life.
Oh, man. Well, I did I prep you with the questions at all? I can't remember. No, I don't think I did. I sometimes do, I sometimes don't. I know when I asked you to do this, you said you don't like talking about death, but that you would do it anyway.
No, so. I do like talking about death.
Oh, you do? I thought you had left out a not, but you do like talking about death. Oh, great. And you're going to love this podcast.
Every conversation slides into some sort of morbid conversation.
That's funny because
with ease.
Yeah, when I misread it and I thought, well, that's funny because I feel like every time we've hung out, because we performed together a bunch, I'm like, I feel like we always end up talking about death the whole bunch. So I was like feeling guilty because I was like, I feel like I've always turned the conversation to death when we were hanging out, and you're probably like, nope, you were into it.
Down that lane with you happily.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, let's skip. So what's the closest in your life you've ever come to dying?
You did ask me that, and I have been thinking about that. And I listened to Dave Frost's episode, and I was like, pretty cool way to go, bro. Dude, cool. I feel like I never felt close to death. I am constantly thinking that I'm about to die. I cannot stop thinking about it. Everywhere I go, every step I take is like, what's going to jump the curb and hit me? But I remember in high school walking home and all the kids had been let out. I'm a dilly-dallier. I dilly-dally. And I stopped at a phone booth, at a payphone, just a block from school to call my mom. And I just didn't feel like walking. And then some guys rode down the street on their bikes shooting at all of us, at all these hundreds of kids walking.
Whoa.
Like it was right at school let out. And a bullet flew right past me while I was at the phone booth. I was standing at the phone booth and a bullet flew right past me. And I was just like, that's where I felt very close. I was like, you really, if you had taken a step forward, would have gotten shot in the face. But then like living in this neighborhood, it's like constantly bullets flying. It's like, okay, don't be dramatic. You've dodged a lot of bullets, like in this neighborhood. We all have. Everybody's settled down. Just how it goes. Like, is that close to death, or is that just how we're living out here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that makes sense. That it's funny because I'm like you. I'm always every pain I get, I'm sure it's cancer. Every like person I see, I'm sure it's murder. I'm always like looking for things that are going to fall and land on me. Like I'm constantly aware of my surroundings. And Alex is never like that. And I'm like, well, you grew up in like a Pop-Tart household. Like it was he just had like nothing dangerous has ever happened to him. So he had to become a wildland firefighter and do rappelling and things because he needed danger.
Gosh. Yes,
he needed danger. But like, I feel like people like us, like I grew up in a dangerous environment, so I'm always looking for it. Always thinking about death, constantly thinking like something's going to kill me. Whereas he's always like, it'll work out fine. I'm like, it won't. It will not. It never does. What are you talking about?
Just wait. Just wait. It's coming. Never relax. Never enjoy. Just wait for death to come.
Yeah.
Because it's coming.
Just constant. And I want to like, I have a lump in my breast that they've been keeping an eye on. That's pretty big. And every time I go in, I have to go in every 6 months to get an ultrasound. And every 6 months I am like writing my will, saying my goodbyes. And every time he's like, it'll be fine. It's been fine for 2 years. It'll be fine this time. And I'm always no, this is it. This is goodbye, everybody.
This is the one. Write the letters. Right. I keep thinking about who I'm going to leave the $300 in my checking account to. I'm like, I hope they give it to my niece. It's only $300, but give it to her.
Yeah,
I guess I don't constantly.
Yeah, I've thought, wouldn't it be amazing to like just be like him? Like literally every time I leave the doctor's office, I think I could just be like him and be like, it'll be fine. You know, I could not spend weeks ahead of time. You know, the week leading up to it, I'm always just like nauseous every day and I'm so nervous. And then every time it's been fine. And I'm like, I could just live like him. Like what that must be like to just live without anxiety. Although we're going to outlive him, obviously, because he's going to, like a brick is going to fall on him or something.
He's going to run right into a fire or something. He's going to go right towards it as he's supposed to do for his job. No, I keep hiding out. Me and my sisters, we sort of hide out. We never really do dangerous things. I fell off a bike last week, 2 weeks ago, fell right over the handlebars, and my family is shocked.
They're shocked.
Just like, what are you doing riding a bike? Like, yeah, you're right. I should just stay inside and lock the doors, and I'm crazy.
That's how my family is. My family is very safety oriented. Like, I think it drives Alex a little crazy. Like, we went camping a few years ago and we were standing up, like we were going to go walk down on this beach. And it took us like 2 hours to prepare for a half-hour walk because everybody's like, do we have enough water? Does everybody have a jacket? Who has sunscreen? Yeah. I'm going to bring the headlamps because we could be out after dark. Like, we packed, everybody had a backpack. And Alex is like, let's just go. Let's just go. Should we just go? And my family's like, no. We bring like 4 days worth of food on a half-hour hike. You never know. You never know. You never know. God forbid you get lost and die of starvation. God forbid. That'll be your own fault. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I'm always like, you know, he's much more spontaneous and he'll be more like, let's just like grab the dog and go. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's totally be spontaneous. I just need like 6 hours to prepare food and check the air in the tires. And I am going to make sure the spark plugs are gapped correctly real quick.
You have to. Do you think it's an age thing for him? Like he'll grow out of that?
No, because everyone in his family, when I met his family, I was like, oh, wow, this is like who you are as a people. Like they were up and we went sledding with them. They had a snowmobile and they had cooked all these sleds to the back of the snowmobile and they were driving the snowmobile around like really fast and people would fly off of the sled and like go flying into the snow. And I was like, this is so awful. But they are not scared of getting hurt. They're not scared of dying. They're not scared of getting hurt. Also, nothing bad has ever happened to any of them. They're all totally healthy, totally gorgeous. Money falls into their laps. You know, like they're just the chosen people, the Satterleys. But they are like a lot of them. I mean, it is interesting. They are just not scared. And I was like, my theory on it is like, his family is British. And I have a theory that like those are conqueror genes. Those are conqueror genes. I have conqueree genes. Like my people build moats.
You know, it's in the DNA. Maybe it's in the DNA.
Yeah.
But I think that if nothing bad has happened to them, then that's like probably the thing. You got to get slapped in the face with reality that once that stuff happens, it's so hard to go back and be carefree. It's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they just, you know, I had a blast with them. I went on, let me tell you, they talked me into going on the sled behind the snowmobile. It was the most fun I've ever had in my entire life. It was so fast and I was screaming and I started crying afterward and I was like, that was so fun. It's so fun. It was so fast. It's so fun. But, you know, I was like, God, I just want to live like that. I want to live.
It is so. I do have a friend who's my adventure buddy, and whenever I'm hanging with him, I don't do what he does. I don't hang glide. I don't jump off of base jumping. I don't do all that weird. I don't do rock climbing. But like even like just, I think I rode I did like tubing with him like in the snow. I was like, oh yeah, I was not having fun at all. Okay. But I mean, like he's showing me how to have some fun and chill out and be like, it's safe. The kids are doing it. Like my mom never let us go ice skating because she fell once when she went ice skating. And she was like, I really hurt myself. So I'm never letting my kids go ice skate. She would say that to us our whole lives. Just avoid fun because my mom once got hurt one time in the 70s. So
that's exactly like, I feel like my mom was they're very, very overprotective. My parents were very overprotective and so afraid of us getting hurt. And I really thought I was going to be so much more chill with my kids. And I realized the other day, like when went for a walk and everybody's just constantly terrified someone's going to, we live in like our street is not busy, but my kids are constantly worried someone's going to get run over. Everybody's checking for cars. And I was like, nope, didn't do it. They're just as nervous as me. They're just like, oh. There's no traffic, no cars. Everybody just keeps looking. And I was like, yeah, they got it. They're really good at crossing the street.
Good for them.
Yeah.
It's probably why I don't have kids, is that constant fear.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already afraid for myself. If there was some person I couldn't completely control who might walk into traffic, it's like, how could I even exist with that fear constantly living in me?
Yeah, it's so scary. And I think it just sort of occurred to me recently, like, you work so hard to keep your kids alive to like the point of adulthood. And you're like, okay, you just got to get them to 18. And then somehow my brain had been like, and then they live forever, like magically. But it's like, no, then they move out of your house and they start doing really stupid shit.
Right.
And I think it was Dave Ross's podcast when he was talking to me. I was like, one of my sons could do this. One of my sons could be like, I'm just going to start doing heroin. I'd be like, I spent 20 years keeping you safe. You're not doing heroin.
Right. He's like, oh, just nerd research or whatever. It's like, no, come on.
No.
No, not at all.
No, but definitely.
But then my mom was still like, sometimes she would like call me in Denver and like panic and cry and stuff about me. I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
She was just like, are you okay? Are you safe? Okay, well, why don't you call me? It's like, I do call, you never answer. But she just needed to panic on the phone with me. And she just panics randomly. Like, I am really doing nothing, Mom. Actually, I'm doing nothing. Like, you can rest assured, if I die, it's because a car jumped the curb and ran into the house.
This hammock strangled me.
Yeah. Can you OD on weed? I don't think so.
I would have in Denver by now if that was possible. So
probably a good thing I left.
Yeah. Man, I had so much fun the last time I was there. I think I did your show. Was it Blind Buzzard? No.
Black Buzzard?
Black Buzzard. Yeah. That was such a fun time. Such a fun show. I miss Denver is like one of those places I just like. It's one of the first places I'm going after all this. I cannot wait to go to Denver and do comedy.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
I miss it. I miss outdoors too, which I didn't think I would miss because I consider myself like a city girl. I need the lights and the sounds to know I'm safe. I need to see the crazy people in the corner to know where I'm at. And now I'm deeply in that and I hate it. And I want quiet. I want to go hiking. You know, I want to drive to the mountains 40 minutes away and do a nice 2-hour hike and come on back, get some fresh air. I want to go, Airbnb in a mountain town and just hang out there. And I feel like over here, it's just I guess it exists. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's, well, also we're in a pandemic, but it just doesn't feel like that easy to hop in the car and do that. But I think that's also because I'm not around the same people. Like I have no friends out here who want to do that with me. They're like, no, thanks. No.
Because a lot of my LA friends do hiking, which I've always kind of been like, there must be good spots for it. But it does also, it seems like it's pretty packed. It's not the same as Denver.
It's not enough space. Me and my friends do like this quick 45-minute hike a couple times a week. And, we're walking by nice houses. We're not like up in the mountains at all. And it doesn't feel like the same. I'm a little bit on Bumble looking for a hiking partner.
Oh, nice.
Pretty lame of me, but I'm like, here I am. They made fun of those gals in Denver, and this is me now being like, I have a boyfriend who wants to go hiking.
That's not a bad. I don't know. Seems like I'd take a hiking partner. That sounds like a great platonic relationship. I'd be super into having a hiking partner.
Yeah. I really haven't found that yet, though. I'm still just hiking with my girlfriend.
You still have a boyfriend? I thought you were single.
No. My boyfriend moved out of Denver. He moved for work, and I stayed for another 2 years. I think the timeline's way off for me, but I was in Denver for a couple years without him.
Hmm.
And he's in Florida, and I'm in California, so we're still separated. So he's still there, though. We still have, we still have this odd relationship that exists, kind of.
Yeah.
We talked last night. We yelled at each other. I was like, all right, that's boyfriend girlfriend shit right there.
You're still fighting, so you got that.
Still fighting.
Yeah.
I thought we had nothing to fight about.
Yeah.
And then we started fighting about nothing, and I was like, oh, okay, well,
perfect. Yeah, that's yesterday. I felt like Alex was like, I woke up mad, and then he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm mad at you. And he was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. There's no reason. Mad. I'm just mad. I'm just mad at you because you're here in the pandemic. I just need something. I need a target for a minute. And I got over it pretty quick, but I was like, because I was trying to be like, why am I mad? I probably have a reason that I'm just not. Nope, no reason. Just a bitch. Just woke up feeling like a bitch, I guess.
It's nice to have someone to, project that onto.
It's, what? It is nice.
Good. Who likes you so much that they ignore it.
Yeah.
They're like, okay.
He's so sweet. He's just like, well, geez, I'm sorry. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to. I don't need you to coddle this. It's so that's why he's so good for me. He's the first person, he's so nice that when I feel like being a bitch, he's so nice that I'm like, well, this isn't satisfying. It's not. Right. This isn't ringing any bells. You're just like, oh, geez, well, what can I do to make it better? I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to act like a mature adult too, if that's what we're doing. God.
Now I'm feeling bad about this, so never mind.
Well, it sounds like you're scared of death. Usually I ask about what's your mortality, your relationship with your mortality, but it kind of sounds like terrified,
constantly terrified.
Yeah.
On the edge of my seat all the time. My nephew, that just made me think of my nephew who's 7, who fast forwards through certain parts of everything because of the music usually will get him. He can't handle any tension. And even for things that he's seen already, I'm like, nobody's dying in this, right? That it doesn't get violent. He's like, I know, but the music, and he's just constantly on. I feel like that a lot of times about death, just constantly, just could be the weed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I quit smoking pot back in September. Because that's kind of how I felt. I felt like I was so anxious that when I would smoke weed, it would just amp it up to the next level. And I was just like, I did this to relax and to meditate and stuff. And every time I smoke weed, I just sit there and be like, does everybody die in this pandemic? Do I lose everyone I love? And I would just end up having a full panic attack. And I would be like, okay, you can't. And I would be like, I have COVID. Every time I smoked pot, I would be like, I have COVID. I have COVID for sure.
I haven't been smoking because, I don't want to bring the smoke in here, but I'll take an edible and totally forget I took an edible and have a panic attack. Every 3 hours I do this. I take an edible and forget that I took an edible. And I'm just like, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. That's kind of why because I hadn't, I had been smoking pot pretty recreationally. And then when COVID hit, I felt like around June, July, I felt like I was this is becoming more habitual than recreational, Yeah. And I was like, I'm not even enjoying it. I'm not this relaxes me and it makes me enjoy the sunset a little more or whatever. I was just like, I feel bad. This makes me feel worse. Gonna keep doing it. Feel bad. Another 3 hours of this, know, and I even hit a point where we went up to the mountains and did some mushrooms in September, and I had a really bad time. This is part of the reason I started the podcast is because I got so sick. I've had this ongoing chronic thing. I got so sick on mushrooms that we thought I was going to die, but but it was a real thing. this thing that I have. We couldn't get down to the emergency room. We were up in the mountains. We were like, oh, this was a huge mistake. We're stupid.
Oh God.
But during that, I had this interesting thing happen, which has happened to me pretty regularly when I've done hallucinogens, where you have that usual thing where you're like, oh no, I'm going to be high forever. Yeah. And then when I was like, finally, after like the mushroom trip, my kidneys had a hard time processing it. And so I was high for like 8 hours and it was horrible. And it was like an acid trip. It was the worst.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see your face. You're just like, no. It was so terrible. And at the end of it, when I finally was sober, I just felt this like huge amount of gratitude of like, oh, it felt so good to be sober and to be like sane, that I just was like, I think that might have been it for me. I think I might actually, I'm no longer LA sober, which is, not drinking, but doing pot. I was like, I think I might be sober. I think that might have been the last hurrah for Emma Arnold. It was kind of a bummer, But you're supposed to face your mortality on mushrooms, but I didn't. Like, that was a very direct hit,
Yeah, no, that sounds super real. I mean, it's straight poison.
Yeah.
I don't like mushrooms though, because they don't always work. I think they make me angry. I get irritable, and I just cannot have a good time on them. But it's the sort of thing that everybody. Oh, this is my boyfriend calling right now. Is this live?
Yeah.
It's like he heard me.
You want to fight? I'll give you a fight.
Well, just last night we were like, okay, well, let's plan on talking more often. And he's like, I'll call you in the morning, and then I'll call you when I get a break, and I'll call you later. So we're just on different time zones, and we can't reach each other. And actually, he followed through, and now he's going to be like, see? But it's weird that I'm like, I hope he doesn't hear this. I don't want him to know what I'm doing in LA. I don't want him to worry. He knows a little bit, but it's like, you don't need details. You'll worry.
Yeah.
He won't listen. Don't worry.
No. Boyfriends never do. I mean, it's weird. If Alex listened to all my podcasts, I mean, he edits them, but he doesn't like listen all the way through. I'd be like, all right, don't be a creep. Come on.
Don't be a creep.
You don't need to be listening to my conversations here. These are my friends.
Yeah. He did get into me after listening to one podcast that I didn't think he listened to.
Oh,
it was
really?
Like a storytelling podcast, and it was an older story, but he knew the person I was talking about, and he freaked the fuck out.
Really?
Come on, man. Come on. So now I never know if he's being supportive, creeping through my podcast episodes.
Yeah. Long distance is hard. I've only done one long distance relationship. I mean, my marriage was really long distance, which is just to say that we were divorced long before I realized it. But I did one long distance relationship with someone in LA, and I was like, this is tough. This is part of it I liked because it was like we were both really kind of singular independent people. And so it kind of worked for that reason, where we were like, neither one of us really wanted someone around a whole lot, but it turned out maybe we just didn't want each other around a whole lot. Oh
no. Oh God.
Yeah. But there's a lot about it it's tough, long distance. I feel like I have friends who've done it successfully for years, and I'm always like, I guess I'm needy. Maybe that's it, is I'm just needy. I need someone around to pet my hair.
I am needy, extremely needy, I believe. The need for my boyfriend, too, is this idea that I have someone. I think he and I feel that way of like, okay, no matter what, whatever's going on, you have someone. You have your Christmas buddy. You have your real plus one to, this is the guy. But now with the pandemic, and I haven't been able to see him so often, even that feels like not all the way real.
Yeah.
But I do need it. I am needy. I'm just, needs are not being fulfilled these days. Yeah. Pandemic, I don't blame him for it. It's a circumstances.
Yeah. No, I mean, the pandemic makes all that much more complicated, and oof.
It's time to boo up. This is not a good time to be single. I've never been single. I live with one foot in the next relationship. And it feels almost like single right now, but sadly single, reluctantly single, just like waking up alone, like again. Yeah. Again. Here we go again.
I've only been single really like one time, and that was after my last boyfriend and I broke up. We were, I was like, I'm going to be celibate. I'm going to be celibate and not date anybody for, 6 to 8 months or whatever. And I did that. But the second that was done, I just, I was all over. I was all over town. And I was literally
up in
like,
the streets.
yeah. And I, sometimes I'll be like, and it was like, I did like that, and I did like get a lot from it, and it was great. And also I was literally counting like the days down, like, because I had made this commitment to myself, like I'm gonna wait until New Year's, like I'm gonna give this like chunk of time and wait until New Year's. And then I was literally like, well, I mean, doesn't New Year's start at 12:01 like the day before? Like I was really just like, okay. And I had somebody like ready to come over, where I was just like, I'm ready.
Time zones. Yeah,
it was great. I loved it. I loved being single. It was great. And it was fun. It was a fun experiment. I'm kind of the same. I've never really been alone a whole lot,
Yeah, it's a mind fuck right now. It is rough.
Yeah.
Rough. But
And they also don't get to do comedy, which is kind of like having a boyfriend.
I would have filled all of my time with it. That was the thing about him, us initially being long distance. It was easy because I was so busy. And then I got busier when he left. It just, when I wasn't rushing home to cook dinner or just to hang out, not spending that boyfriend time. I was just working more. And now without the work, it's just like, what is this? This is weird.
Yeah.
It's me dating myself. Gross.
Yeah.
It. I don't like it.
Yeah. I feel that so hard because I feel like, I was telling Alex last night that I was like, I feel like I have had this I mean, it's obvious, and I like all comedians have this, and I before all this kind of felt like, oh, I'm not one of those people who like needs the attention of the stage or whatever, but whatever. And it's not that I'm like, oh, I need to go out and have people love me. It's more like I need to go out and have 200 people listen to me. I just need that. I need it. And, it's so like, it's such a weird need to have. And I told Alex, I'm like, I wish of course I wish I was just like him, who's like, been pretty fine, not talking to anybody. I was like, I wish I just was normal. I wish I just had normal, I didn't have like obviously this black hole need for whatever connection and attention, but here we are, and I do. And so instead I'm just like playing a lot of words with friends. Being like, what are you doing? How are you? What are you doing? How's it going? You want to chat? How are you? I'm just a creep. I was a creep now, Janae.
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, you're scared to death. I'm scared to death. A lot of people I've talked to, like I talked to Sean yesterday, and a lot of people on the podcast have been like, oh, I'm not scared to death. I'm come to a great place with it. And like, I've done a lot of work to like get to a healthier place with it. But like, a part of me feels like we're also right that being scared of death is like, it's literally the one thing in life to be really scared of. It's really like, like I'm not scared of being humiliated. I'm not scared of being rejected. I'm scared of dying. And that's pretty much it. I'm scared I'm going to lose someone I love, or like death is really the only thing worth being terrified of.
The losing someone you love is like right up there. I mean, my own death, I don't know, it's pretty equal. Like I'm constantly terrified someone I love is going to pass away. It's like my sister, one of my sisters called me and we were chatting. I don't know what she was talking about, but she was talking about near-death experiences and how several accounts people have said that it feels like a warm hug. It feels comforting. It feels easy, like when they were very, very close to death or died and came back, heart got restarted, that it was just easy and warm. And perhaps all of us being afraid of it are wrong because it's not that hard. We just don't know. It's just unknown. And it's actually quite a relief. And I was like, well, thank you for that. I'll still panic daily about that lovely long hug we'll be getting at the end.
Yeah.
I'll never stop obsessing about it until I get it one day. But also I'm terrified of getting super old.
Yeah. I have been scared of getting old since I was a kid. I feel like, and not for like a vanity reason, just because, I mean, I helped take care of my grandparents. I watched them, deteriorate and die over the course of years. And that's another thing that I think we're right to be scared of. It's like your body. I think when people don't realize like that your body, like it starts to really fall apart. It's just, there's nothing you can do. Like one day you're like, oh, I'm limber and I feel great. And then the next, like pretty soon you're like, man, my knees hurt all the time.
Everything.
And then, it just all starts to.
I stopped trying to cover for like all the popping that's happening in my body when I squat. 100% of the time my knees pop. And I used to like try to talk over it or distract. And now it's just like, this is pop, pop, crack, like nonstop. That is just what I sound like.
Yeah, I'll be like working my shoulder. I have an old gymnastics injury that hurts all the time, but as I've gotten older, it's just worse and worse. And I'll be like working it, and Alex will be like, "Does your shoulder hurt?" And I'm like, "Oh no, all the time. It never. There's no break from it. It's just it hurts sometimes a lot, and sometimes really a lot. Like." That's just that's part of it. Well, so you were raised super religious. You were a believer for a lot of years. Do you think part of your fear comes from not believing in an afterlife anymore? Like when you were a kid, were you more comfortable with death because you believed in heaven?
Yeah, probably. I think there was more of something to look forward to. And now I do sometimes wish, like, I can remember when my mom, when Trump won in 2016, and I tried to start telling a joke, but it was just too real, that my mom was like, well, it's in God's hands now. And I was just like, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky to believe that. Like, I wish that everything was just in someone else's magical, omniscient hands. Fantastic.
Yeah.
But something happened in my brain and it won't believe it anymore. But I think as a kid, I was a nervous Nelly kid too. I just thought that if I followed the rules, of the Bible and the religion, that I could somehow get myself a good seat in the afterlife. Like, and now I'm just like, but I think the whole time as a kid, I always thought it was like lights out type of situation. I never really understood like what heaven might look like other than just asleep. Like when you get general anesthesia, when you get that, when they put you to sleep at the dentist, you're just gone.
Yeah.
You're just gone. You're gone. You ever been put out at the dentist?
No,
or for surgery?
Was awake for my wisdom teeth being pulled, and it was incredibly traumatic. And later somebody was like, oh yeah, you should have definitely been knocked out for that. I was trying to save money because I didn't have insurance. So I was like, just gas me up. I'll be fine. And
gas me up.
And then it turned out like he had to do like these crazy extractions where he had to like shatter the teeth and then pull it out piece by piece. And it was terrible. It was worse than the time on mushrooms. It was the worst. It was a near-death experience, honestly. But yeah, I felt like that as a kid too. I remember having heaven described to me and being like, just always kind of being like, what does that look like? How does that work? And like, also really not really, like even as a very little kid, when people described hell, I was always like, okay, but that's dumb. That doesn't make any sense. That's not a great idea.
It was always, burn in hell. I saw a movie once at church. That was the thing that really made it make sense. We watched it at church and in the basement. And that wasn't usually a place where we sort of hung out. That was Sunday school area. But it was a movie about, these Bible stories, people being in hell and like literally being under the floor of other people going like, we're sorry, repent, you should repent. And I was just like, oh my God, we'll be there watching other people screaming at them to be good. And it was like so creepy and weird. And that was the most terrifying image of hell, I thought. It's just like forever being like, no one can hear me. But I also believe that when I was deeply in the church, if God is love and God is our Father and we are Him and He is us and all of this, then why the hell would He do that to us?
Yeah.
Come on. Saved by grace. I'm too dumb to make the right choice. You said that right in the book. I'll never get it right. but I'm his and he's mine and we're together. And well, why would he put me in hell? Come on. Like, if it turns out to be real, it's like the Bible basically says we're all too dumb to really get it. So God's going to forgive us anyway, because he knew we were going to fuck up. So
Yeah.
I have to lean on that.
Yeah, I remember struggling with that when I was a kid quite a bit. Like the idea of like, well, wait, so God, I remember having, like you said, the no questions. Like I had a lot of religious family on my father's side who were Pentecostal, and I would be like, well, wait, like, so God sent his only son to die for our sins, but like he's not going to do that again. You know, like it was like, oh, after that, now you have to repent and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, why didn't you just send another son? Like, I don't know, one every 100 years or so. And then everybody, like, why not just like everybody on earth gets absolved and we got to take everybody? Like, why be like, no, not those people, you know? I just was very bothered by that.
It's like a vaccine. We're going to need a second round.
Yeah, we're going to need to. Oh, you're going for a little walk here. I like it.
No, the neighbors have like their dogs bark. Dude's doesn't really bark. He's dead.
What are all those trophies over there?
Oh my God. Probably what is that? Who's trophy? In the late 90s. That's probably who was playing basketball in the 90s. Probably like my dad playing for the church league or something like that.
Oh, cute.
What is that? 97. My cousin played football in 97. I think that's what it is. Got a best mother. She used to get like a lot of woman of the year things at work. My grandmother's like early feminist, I think, even though I see her as highly religious and Pentecostal and all that. She was like, she was early feminist, and like even when she moved to California, she left her husband. She was very young and brought her 3 babies over, brought 1 kid and then went back for the other 2 really young. But it was like, even in the 70s, she was like, I got to do this. I got to protect my kids and do this. So
yeah,
she's out here. She always worked, bought a house, and like, all these feminist qualities, even though the church really asked the women, all the women I know work. And the church still asks you to somehow be less. Mm-hmm. Somehow. Like anyway.
Yeah, it's like a lot of my, the Mormon women I grew up with work full time, but you're raised to be super submissive. And now they've kind of like been like, it's fine. You don't have to be a housewife, but you do still have to be submissive. So it's like, now you get to do both. Now you get to be a breadwinner. You get to be submissive and be in charge of everything at the house. And you're going to be in charge of half the mortgage. It's like, oh, cool. Well, that's a better deal, right? That seems better. Yeah. Is your dad still around? I can't remember.
No, he passed away.
That's what I thought.
Passed away when we were teenagers.
Yeah. That's what I thought I remembered. And so that that could have a lot to do with why you and your sister, your family, for sure.
Oh, yeah, we believe it. But my mom had a lot of death in her life when she was young. And so she is a person who's morbid as heck, man. Like, she used to go to a lot of funerals. When we were kids, she'd like go to funerals. But a lot of people passed away kind of young, like, found out that my biological grandmother, my maternal biological grandmother, died at 29.
Wow.
Pregnant with her 7th child.
Oh my God.
My cousin now, who's around my age, it's like when he puts all the stories together, it sounds like it was like, what do you call it? Like toxemia or something like that. And nobody recognized the signs that she was dying pregnant. But so then my mother and her sisters and brother, they were raised by my aunt, technically my aunt, who is the matriarch of our family, who never had biological children, but who raised all of them. But my real grandmother died at 29. And my grandmother here, her mother died in her early 30s. Nobody knew why. Just, women die early and just nobody investigates. They're like, I don't know, heart condition, something. But my dad, unfortunately, he was killed in this neighborhood. So it's very weird to be back and like walk the dog and try to avoid that spot 2 blocks away. I'm like, go around. or to even
Wow.
be here. And like my dad was, it was an attempted carjacking. So I hit the light that I think he was at, and I'm always like checking my doors to make sure they're locked and just constantly on guard. Like I like to sit in my car. That's my office space usually. Um, but not here. I can't really do it here. It
Yeah.
feels dangerous, like go out in the open. But I go to my sister's neighborhood and sit out in front of her house, use her internet. Her and her kids are just looking through the window, like, what's happening out there? Like, I just feel safer sitting in your driveway or in front of your house.
Yeah. Man, that must be so strange to be back there and to be so close to that.
It's absolutely surreal. Like, old memories coming up. I've driven through a couple of streets that I've seen in many dreams. You have dreams about all the streets you
Oh,
walked as a
yeah.
kid, all the alleys. And so I find myself sometimes just getting off on the wrong freeway exit and then like taking some turns and being like, oh, yeah, I keep seeing this street in a dream and I never know what's beyond this. And it's like, oh, yeah, 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 there's that church over there. Right. Like
Oh,
it's
wow.
coming back. So much of it is gone. The neighborhood looks terrible. There's way more garbage everywhere. It's like really a
Mm,
busted up looking neighborhood. Um, it's kind of bad. Over the prostitution seems like more prevalent than even when I was a kid, which is sad because it's like those are not the
yeah.
same old hoes. Those are new hoes, and they're young. Dang, it's all still happening. But yeah, it's absolutely surreal to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. And during COVID, I don't know, it just seems like a lot to process all it kind of in one go, in one year. You're getting to do your father's death, the pandemic, the fall of our democracy,
I
long
think
distance
that's my last
relationship.
one. I think this is the last year. It feels like it's the last year. Like,
This is it, huh?
or this is it. Something about it feels like this is it. Yeah.
Does it?
I feel, Kobe Bryant died on my 40th birthday last year, and I was like, oh, something's weird. I was like, this year
Mm,
feels off. Like from the jump. My birthday's in January, and I was like, oh, from the jump, this is a weird one. And I couldn't get I don't really make vision boards, but I make a couple of, what do you call it? I just write down some affirmations and some desires, some goals. Couldn't see any goals for the year of 2020. I was like, I have no
mm,
clue what I want. I don't see it. I don't know what to pursue. And it just was like, oh, yeah, that was a weird year. And now, and that's just a calendar. Now it's like, is this just a weird conclusion to this
yeah.
life, this episode, this era? Just, yeah.
I feel like some people I talk to are like really hopeful and they feel like we're about to come into like a new renaissance of American democracy. And then other people I talk to are like, I think that the Mayans were off by a couple years.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
this is it. We're done. And I don't know, like I heard it was 85 yesterday in LA and
It's
it was
86 today.
51 here. Ugh. And today, it was that hot today.
It's hot over here today. I do feel like, it feels like the end constantly. And sometimes I do have that thought, like I'm doing all of this quarantining and trying to be safe. And every now and again, you make some dumb, dangerous decision, and and my brain is going, it's the end of the world. Just do it. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Just who cares? Live it, do it, eat it, fuck it, whatever, go.
Yeah.
Like,
That's kind of what I think Gen Z will be. Gen Z will be the fuck it because like my kids are looking down the barrel of disastrous climate change and their government is doing nothing to
mhm.
prevent it and is actively just kind of being like we are just going to not only ignore it, we're going to tell you to ignore it. Doesn't exist, fuck you. And I just think
Doesn't exist.
like how do you tell them to build a future, how do you tell them to go to college? And I feel like a lot
I
of people are in such denial.
Yeah, I think about the absence of water constantly. Like, what a precious, precious resource. It's impossible to live without water. And places are running out of water. We're going to run out of water, clean water here. And I just don't feel like we're talking about it enough. the air and the water is the most precious, like above religion and politics and whatever else is going on. It's just like, we don't solve water, then I don't know why we're trying to solve anything else. Like,
Yeah.
forget it. Just forget it. I think I'm always having like these odd, I feel like I'm a little bit psychic sometimes, but in a bad way. I only predict bad things, but just little bad things happen. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. I was having negative thoughts about it. Again, I knew it. But the water thing is just like, I'm like, why aren't we talking about it more? It's just so, so very important. And I think air is being attacked in real ways now. Real ways, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, when they put water as a commodity on the stock market, I was like, we're fucked.
I can't believe it took this long.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But it's I think, well, 1,000 years ago, everybody was just living in pig shit, dying of cholera. And I don't know. I think maybe all of human existence has just been one. First, we were being eaten by tigers. Then, then we were being, burned by the Catholic Church. Then people were slaves, and now we're going to not have water. There's just no end to human suffering. There's just no whatever end. Time period you live in. That's just your own little pocket of suffering.
Oh my God!
And then you were scared to die, Janae, and then we're terrified to die, and you're like, what a funny little beast. That's like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to leave.
I don't want to leave this awful party. What if they do get more water though?
Yeah, but what if, I know, that's kind of like, but what if everybody all of a sudden starts being really decent to one another? Huh? It could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen.
No, probably.
No. I do think I should try to have a birthday party. Not a party, but I got to acknowledge my birthday this year. They're precious, and I need to see them as precious, my little years, and not just be like
40. You're going to be 41? Yeah. Yeah, I'll be 41 in June. So right behind you. You should do something.
At 40, it was just like the saddest fucking day. Unfortunately, it was impossible to pull it together. And so I was like, next year. Me and my stepdad has the same birthday, and we were like, next year, we'll do something next year. And then the pandemic happened, and it was like, oh man.
Yeah.
We were supposed to do something last year. He turned 70, I turned 40, and we were like, we blew it. We were supposed to celebrate then.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, I don't want to do like a big thing. I had thought I wanted to do some big 40th birthday party. And then I was like, I don't actually. I just want to have like, so Alex and I just hung out and like did like a mellow thing. And now I feel like that, is he mad at you? Is you guys fighting?
Trying to cough
listen to your other podcasts?
Yikes. He's trying to cough up something. He's pretty old.
Oh, yeah.
And he is an outdoor dog. He's not like my family thinks I'm crazy for how I treat him. I'm like, well, I lived in Denver for 6 years, and dogs are people too, according to Denver. So yeah. I have to try to be nice to him. But he is old, and it's like,
My dog just had 7 teeth pulled, and they said soft food only, for 2 weeks. And I made some beef stew, and he couldn't. So I took and like smushed up some of the potatoes and the carrots, and kind of mushed it all up like baby food. And then I put that in some broth in a bowl, and I thought he was just going to be like in heaven. But he has like this aversion to broth, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, where he would go over and it smelled good, and he wanted like what was in the bottom, but every time he would like take a lick of the broth, he would go, he would like gag, he would, like dog gag, and he'd be like, and then he would like walk around in a circle and then come back to it, be like, okay, all right, let's try it again.
Like this.
Gross. All right, let's try it again, because it smelled good every time. It would just like
gave
go
him the
back
willies.
all And he just could not, and he would like lick around the top of it without touching the liquid and be like, what a nice treat. Thank you so much. And I was like, what is happening? The dog doesn't like beef broth. He does not. It was very special.
That's strange. Are you doing a party this year? Okay, go ahead.
No. I don't think so. I mean, you know, in a world where me and all my family and friends got vaccinated, you know, but that's not going to happen. Idaho has no vaccines, basically. We have like 7,000 for the whole state. It's pretty impressive. So no, I don't think so. I feel like I didn't realize until last year that I actually don't like birthday parties, that they actually, every year I get like really stressed out about throwing a party and like the food and the guest list. And I'm like a kid. I always am like, nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to come. People do come. It still stresses me out the same amount that people came. And last year I was like, I think I hate parties. I think I don't like parties. So I didn't have one. And now it turns out nobody can have a party.
I don't have one anymore.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think I still I think people have been like, oh, I miss parties. Like Alex has said that a few times. I'm like, I still don't miss parties. Like I always feel, I get like around a lot of people where you're sort of in a social situation where you're the center of attention other than comedy for some reason.
Right.
A birthday
party.
Well,
that's a nice thing that was another thing about performing was like I didn't go to prom. I didn't have a wedding. I graduated from college, but I didn't graduate from high school and do that big senior year like my sisters all did with all the pictures and the attention. And now I don't really have, I was throwing a couple parties in Denver. I've thrown like some holiday parties, but I get a lot of attention on stage. And it's just like not as necessary. I think my mom throws herself really big parties. So she's hurting right now. She misses having big parties. But
yeah,
we used to be on stage and it was like, I get the attention of thousands of strangers.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have to like me. They paid to be here.
Yeah. They don't have to like me. I just want to tell them stuff.
I want to tell them. They're stuck anyway. They're stuck in their seat.
That's all I want. Yeah, I don't even need them. I've realized that. I'm like, I don't even need, it's not like I need adoration. I just need attention. That's all I need. Someone to listen to me talk. That's all I needed. I really
My boyfriend asked me if I was doing comedy in an argument, in a heated argument. He was like, are you doing it for the money or for the attention? It's like, obviously the attention. I'm not making that much money.
I'm not making any money.
What are you talking about?
I know.
Obviously
I think
the attention.
People like try to shame you for that piece of it of like, you're just like, it's so funny. Occasionally on my live stream stuff, people will be like, you're just doing this for attention. Or like on Twitter, somebody will be like, you're an attention whore. And I'm like, yeah, if I wasn't, I would have dental insurance right now. Like,
right.
I would be making adult money and
at a cubicle where no one can see me, you know?
Yeah.
But
I would be normal. I would be a normal person. Lucky for you, I have this beast inside that needs constant feeding.
Yeah. Lucky for you, listeners.
Well, I do the 3 questions for everybody, and then I have one question that is just specifically, this is really funny. It's so funny that you said you were psychic because, so my question, I have one question that's sort of catered to the person. I was going to say that we had the last time you were in Boise, we had a conversation about how we both feel like we're a little psychic. Like I feel the same way. I feel like the night my grandfather died, I had told my mom that I thought he was dying that night. And she was kind of like, well, honey, they say he has months to, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it feels like he's going to die. And that's happened to me my whole life where I've like, if I get, and listen, this is not something I've shared before. Listen, if I get a tingle in my anus, shit is going down. And before anything, my whole life, no, I've never shared this before, but my whole life, if I started getting my hands will start tingling and my anus will tingle. And if that happens, I'm always like, it's happening tonight. This is it. And I'm never wrong. It's, so we both, you had told me a couple of times, like where you were like, yeah, I predicted that. I predicted it. So I'm almost afraid to ask you now that you said you think 21's our last year. But I was going to say if if you were a little fortune cookie for the next year, what would you read? What are you reading on 2021? Now I'm kind of scared to ask, but what are you reading?
2021, get it done while you can. Like, do it. Do the thing. Like, for real, not the thing of like, I'm pursuing my dreams. I finally decided to go to law school. No, that takes forever. The thing that you wanted to do. You wanted to try heroin with Dave Ross? Maybe you can still. Do the thing.
Do the thing. Do the big thing.
Do the thing. Jumping out of a plane, jumping off a cliff. You want to propose forget proposing, just marry her. Yeah. You're going to have a baby. The baby's not going to live long, but you can be pregnant this year.
It'll be cute.
It'll be cute for a hot second, and then it's all over. But
punch someone. Did you want to punch someone? This is your year. Go punch that person.
This is your year.
Yeah.
You want to tell somebody off? There's somebody you've been meaning to tell off. This is the year to do it. This is the year to do the thing. Maybe you've been always wanting to start a fire. This is your year. Go start a fire. Yeah. No one would even notice in California. There are so many fires always happening. So just throw another match in there, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what my thing is to do. I want to just do the thing.
Yeah. What is your thing? I got to think too. Like, what is your thing? If you're like, all right, fuck it. We have a year. This is it. This is the year. What are you going to do?
Man. Probably something terrible. I don't know. Probably a lot of unprotected sex in odd places. Just like creep out.
Creep out. Yeah.
I hope my boyfriend doesn't hear that. He'll be disgusted. He is like not at all of that mind, but just like a bunch of drugs and just like just ride the bomb into the earth. Like whatever.
Just party it out and let it all. I'll have to think. It's weird. I'm like, oh, you've caused an existential crisis in me where I'm like, what is my thing? Oh no. Oh god.
Maybe you've
What's
done
my thing? Do
plenty.
I have a thing? I've done so much, Janae. That's kind of like when you're like a lot of unprotected. I'm like, I've done that. And I started doing drugs when I was 13. So done that, had kids, I don't know. I don't know if I have any things left. My thing, you know what I want? You know what I'm going to do? My like big crazy thing and what I'm going to do? What if I try living without anxiety? Whoa.
Oh.
Okay. I'm going to just not give a shit about anything. I'm not going to worry about the fact that if I buy a brand new shower curtain, it might mean we're financially destitute in 2 weeks. I'm not going to worry about that. No. I'm not going to give a fuck about money. I'm not going to pay off any debt. I'm just going to... No.
Just do it.
I kind of already decided that. Yeah, just...
I've been living like it's 2021 for like 40 years. Just like, charge it, spend it. They'll never find you. You'll be dead. Who cares?
Turns out you were right. Turns out, I feel like now is a great time to stop paying on debt. Just because if anybody tries to call you, you're just like, it's 2021. It's pandemic. I'm not paying. I don't have any money. I can't do this. I'm paying you. And they're like, oh,
I'd be dead. I'm saving my money to trade for, I don't know what in the apocalypse. Like, hoard your cash and your coins. I got jugs of coins. I'm ready to go. Yeah. I'll be able to pay for canned cheese. Exactly.
Yeah. Canned cheese and a knife. That's all I need. That's all.
I do think about the pregnancy thing because of my age more so than the year. Like, should I try to have a baby or something? Like, I feel like I see a lot of my friends being like, we had a baby. Like, everybody.
Oh, yeah, everybody.
We had a baby. I was like, oh, should I? Because it's kind of like about to be a wrap. Although women in my family, if they've had kids before, they're still having babies in their 40s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean... It's a funny, like, I feel like the same way, like, everybody's having babies right now. Like, that's why I feel like my whole Instagram is people our age. Everybody's just starting to finally have babies. And I'm done. Like, Arthur's 12, I'm like, all right, 5 more years of this shit, and then we can move up into a cabin in BC, and I can raise some chickens or something, Like, that's the dream for me. But, I don't know. Do you want a baby? Does that sound fun?
the raising of children looks hella hard.
It's
Like,
so hard.
it looks like so hard. And even nannying, I did a lot of nannying. Definitely would go home like, oh, thank God I don't have to take those kids home. As much as I have adored every child I've watched, most children, worked in lots of schools, summer camps, and I'm just like very grateful to not take those kids home.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking, like, did I want to hold a little baby that looks like my niece looks very much like her dad, and my nephew looks just like my sister. I'm like, did I need that? Did I need a little nugget that looks like me? There's no way to know until I
Yeah.
get to 60 and I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, I did
Yeah.
need it. I
needed
did.
it. Yeah, I mean, whenever my friends decide, or like have been like, I don't know why anybody hassles anybody who doesn't want kids, because I'm always like, yeah, I don't. I have 3 who I adore and have lived for the last 20 years, and I completely understand not wanting kids. Like, I'm 100% on board. I'm like, yeah, totally. Because
It just
it's
looks
so much work.
exhausting. It
It's
looks
so exhausting.
exhausting. My sister Kiki puts so much of her time and her life into her boys. Like, she goes hard for the boys, and I'm just like, I just can't see myself doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't.
And at the end of the day, there's a I've worked so hard. I think my kids are really amazing people, and I'm proud of them and I adore them. But at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, wow, I've just raised 3 more entitled white guys. Like, that's what I've done. Just 3 more people who leave their shit around. And when I'm like, hey, if you don't clean this up, someone else has to, and that someone is me. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Wonderful. I did a great job. I should have.
Oh, man.
So
the
at the end of the day, I didn't
raise a good person. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to just not raise a person. Like, I feel like I raised good people who still suck, kind of. You know, like,
Because people do. Because people suck. That is our nature.
Yeah, we do. Well, I like it. Do it is what my little fortune cookie from you says. Do it. Do the thing.
Do the thing.
Not the long-term thing. Do the thing now.
Yes, it's the year of short-term goals.
Short-term goals.
Short-term goals. Yeah. Do the thing.
Do the thing. All right, I'm going to figure out what the thing is. My thing is always, I'm like, I've always wanted to pose nude. That's my thing. I think that might be it. I've always wanted to do a nude calendar.
Yes, do it.
I'm going to do a nude calendar.
Do
there
it.
You go.
Do it. I feel like I've thought about it so much lately, the nudity. I've not often mocked, but I never liked to connect it to my comedy. Like, I don't want to do a nude photo for my next special or something, which I think they put a lot of women in. I just want to do nudity for nudity's sake.
Absolutely.
Period. Just like, this is what I look like at 41. And when I'm 51, I'll be like, hey, check that out.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like I feel like I look pretty banging still, especially for 3 kids. And I feel like I'm like, damn, I look good. And I want to just.
And the mind is there now. The mind is there. I'm sure my 24-year-old body was fine, but the mind wasn't there. The confidence wasn't there.
Yeah.
The love of my body wasn't there. I looked at my little droopy boobs today, and I used to make so many jokes about these tiny little droopy things. And I'm like, look at these 1970s girls. Look at these lovely nipples. Oh my God.
That's funny. Yeah, like yesterday, I paint a lot of nudes, and people send me nudes, and I was like, people always like, well, every time people send me nudes, they're always like, I'm sorry, I'm a little heavy. This is my winter body, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't want to paint Instagram. Like, send me those saggy titties. I want saggy titties and big butts. That's what I want to paint. I don't want to paint like Instagram model 22-year-olds. I want to paint interesting looking people. You know, that's kind of. And I feel like kind of the same. Like, they always have a woman for their special be like topless on the front, or whatever. And I never wanted to really connect that to my comedy, especially because it's so much about sex a lot of times anyway. But like, I just want to do nudity because I think I look great and I like my body.
Just because I want to.
It's fun.
Nothing to do with being a performer, just a lady who wants to show her butt to herself when she's older.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm doing it. Maybe I'll do a nude calendar of lady comedians who just want to show their butt for no reason other than showing their butt.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I love it. It helps me set a goal, get my body together. So tell me it's in 2 months, and I will work out hard to be like, I've been wanting a booty for a long
Perfect.
time. You got a butt. I never got a butt. So I still want a butt.
It is pretty nice having a butt. I feel like, and I've put on weight in Corona, and now I have boobs for the first time, and that's been incredible. Because like I had them when I was breastfeeding, I had like double D's, and I was always like I literally just to sit there and just like mash them together and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You were so fascinating to me. I love boobs on other people, and then when I had them on myself, I was like, oh, amazing. And I like my boobs. Like I've always had small boobs, and they're adorable, and they held up remarkably well through breastfeeding 3 kids. But like I've put on a little weight, and now I have like, handful boobs where you're just like, ha ha ha.
Yeah. And that's what nice. The calendar is not going to be like lovely and beautiful. It's just ladies like ogling ourselves. And
that's perfect. Yeah. It's going to be just like, look at those titties. Oh my God. It's just squeezy. Yeah. I love that. It's just going to be women enjoying their own bodies.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. Maybe I don't want to be a comedian anymore. Maybe I just take nude pictures of women enjoying their bodies. Maybe I'm a photographer now.
The world perfect. Needs it more than comedians. So please.
Yeah, probably better life's work. Well, I'm going to do it. We're going to do all the things. And I'm going to outro us real quick. Stick around so I can get a couple things from you. But where can people find you? Where can they buy your stuff and support you? Tell us your Venmo. Let us get some money.
Yeah. I'm glad you cut straight to that. Tell you my Venmo. Janae Burris on Venmo. I have a few t-shirts to sell, but forget that. You can just straight send me money. I'm working on, me and my friend keep trying to pitch our podcast. So if you know someone who is listening to podcast pitches who actually has money to give for podcasts, which doesn't exist apparently, but we're thinking about starting a GoFundMe or Patreon. We're talking about it, and it's just to make the first 5 episodes because it's getting some love from big companies, except for they don't want to give you the money up top. They're like, show us some numbers first. We really like your concept and kind of want to steal it from you, but show us some numbers. I'm like, send me some money, please. I'm poor. I'm broke. But yeah, Janae Burris on Venmo, and I think Cash App's like Janae Burris, but Negative Negro. I'll take a follow on Instagram or Twitter, Negative Negro, and JanaeBurris.com.
And do you have an album or anything? Can people find your comedy? Because you're so fucking funny.
I don't have an album.
Damn.
I need to produce something to sell in that way. I never liked my jokes enough to put an album together.
That's so crazy, because the last time we performed together, I was like, God damn, this half hour is so tight. She should record this. It's so funny because you were just it was so good.
They're so good. They made me love it. They made me feel good. Like you were the first person to give me that feature weekend out of town. That was such a big deal for me. And I came back like I had been at boot camp and really worked out.
Yeah.
It was a game changer for sure. I appreciate that you did that. It was a game changer. And I think I have an audio recording of it that a little, anyway, it was just
if
listening
you do,
to my
put
own
it up.
set.
I mean, honestly, that's part of the reason I'm doing a B-sides album right now. And it was really just because Dave Ross did his. And then I was talking to him and he was like, you know what? People they're just wanting shit to listen to, and they don't care about the quality. They don't care if it's club recorded. They don't care if you got 4 tracks on it and, got it professionally done. Just put shit up and be like, guess what? This is an album. And I was like, man, he's right. Like, people just want stuff to listen to, and you need to make money, and there's no shame in that.
You gave me some advice about going ahead and doing some stuff that's you don't have to wait till it's all 100% and
no. Because what are you going to wait? What are you going to wait another year to record an album? That's ridiculous. You have a really good album. If you have a recording of that, it would sell. You would be able to sell that. So let me know if you're interested, and I can hook you up with Blonde Medicine, who did my album. They're fabulous, and they would love to have you. So I'm sure. But you're so funny, and I'm sad that people can't hear you. I hope they can find you on YouTube or something, because I love your comedy. You were always a delight when you would open for me, because the crowd would just be butter after you were done. I would always just be like, there's no work to be done up here. I could just come up here and wiggle my butt. And people were like, we love it. We saw Janae do it. We love it.
Boise was fantastic. Good people.
Yeah. Yeah, that club's closed, unfortunately, now, and I'm heartbroken. If anybody wants
to... But Denver,
that
we're
club
going to
back
make our
up.
way to Denver.
Hmm.
Dave Rodriguez is, just opened his Fort Collins place, and he's
Yeah,
feeling like he can do it. If anybody can do it, Dave can do it because he's
for
pretty
sure.
like focused, hardworking, like smart
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
So that'll be something to look forward to in the
yeah. I
future, I
can't
think.
wait for that. Yeah,
Make our
and
way
I
to
think
Colorado.
I have hope that this will have weeded out a lot of the people who were doing comedy for kind of bullshit reasons, and the people who were like, you're there because you love it, because you love writing jokes and you love, connecting with people. And yeah, part of it's attention, but part of it is when I have a joke, I need to go do it 15 times to get it exactly right because I'm a maniac, like I have to find the bones of that thing. And I just feel like it'll be cool. And it'll also have like a lot of places are going out of business, and that's very, very sad. But I think places that have been able to hang on or that are going to open up after this, I think it could be kind of a comedy renaissance, and it could be really cool. And what if you had an album for that? Huh?
Yeah. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for being here, Janae. You're such a delight. You guys, this has been What's Next. I'm your host, Emma Arnold. Listen, next week, our guest is Bree Pruitt, who is wonderful, and you're going to love her. Thank you so much.